surely you must have some thoughts. What are your experiences in working in this space? Do you find these things to be true, or is it where am I going wrong here?
Unusually quiet for trained for success people. So, Peter, have you got any questions?
I
Yeah.
expect virtual worlds to become even more popular in an economic downfall. I think that one of the things that the government is interested in is the continuity of operations in companies. What if gas becomes $5, $6, $7, $8, $9 a gallon? We can't stop work, and a lot of us are engaged in knowledge work. So I think that not driving and doing our knowledge work through immersive environments is definitely going to become a solution. We're seeing it becoming a solution already, as we see very quietly lots of little enterprises are entering into the virtual world. They're just doing it internally, much like they did their web strategy, because they see it as a competitive advantage. So you would be surprised the number of virtual job posts that are popping up inside of companies like Booz Allen and Microsoft and Boeing and all sorts of funny little places. Those are my local places, but it's interesting. It's interesting how this is emerging. Yeah, some of the people that are taking the virtual world course, you can introduce yourself. You can come up and stand by me just so that the avatars can see you. Nanny's here from the native lands, and Stelianos is here. Cicely is a graduate. It's interesting because one of the things that we do in the virtual world class is that we build a virtual world. We start young and we get to a point where by the end of the third quarter, you have not only built a virtual world, but you're going to invite the public in to see it and to critique it. And last quarter, in the spring, the Maya Island that was created on the University of Washington Island made a CNN report, and they held a solstice party there, and it is based on the Mayan civilization. So all of these guys went out. These are people that are professionals that have real jobs, and they're building a Mayan island, but they went out and did really deep research to understand the medicine in Mayan times, the astrology, the cultural behavior, and they created as absolutely much realism as they could. And it's just amazing what people learn when they have a narrative and they're doing something collective. I think that's what's really powerful, is finding collectives. It's really going to change the equation. It's too bad that companies that are using virtual worlds are keeping them hidden in black boxes to maintain a competitive advantage. Those would be examples we could use to publicize the medium and win more converts. I think that, yes, it would be great, but no, they're not going to do it because it keeps competitive advantage. I mean, it is going to be the next thing that is going to emerge is virtual world websites. I mean, that's what this is a website. What I recommend for that comment is, go out and build one yourself with your colleagues and make that the exemplar. I think you can't get away from that. This concept here, Andrew's concept of training for success, it's a valid concept. We've built something called the Frontier Project, which is a sim dedicated entirely to building green buildings, and we built it with not a big company. We built it with the Cucamonga Valley Water District in Southern California, but they built a building in the physical world that is an award-winning building on how to utilize the natural resources to sustain the building. And then they built gardens around it and water resources. And then they thought, why not put it in a virtual world so that I can get hundreds of thousands of people to come visit it, because everybody can't come to Southern California. And it was one leader with one idea who convinced his boss with a certain amount of money to just come in and start doing it. And now it's an exemplar. Put it on the destination guide and get people to start looking at it and pull people to applications like that. Please feel free to email me, and I can give you many examples that attract people's attention if you want to bring people in and see what the potential is of a virtual world, either from the business point of view, the educational point of view, or the entertainment point of view. I can take you to some very serious places that have done things like convince the head of nursing at Johns Hopkins University to not only take our course, but dive deep into building virtual worlds for nursing education. So party on, Wayne. That's all I got to say. Please do. Let's see, I'm looking back at questions to see if I've not answered somebody. The land baron business is still big in Second Life too. If you build the right place and it's just got the right type of activities on it, people will pay money to come live there. It's just kind of funny. My email's on the last slide, but it's pretty easy. I'm Randy at 2b3d.net if you want to get a hold of me for business. And if you want to get a hold of me for academic reasons, I'm avatar@uw.edu. I'm one of those individuals that wear two hats. Oh, well, Nanny, I actually have two daughters, and I stayed home for 7 years. I have 4 children, but I stayed home for 7 years because I was an ESL teacher, and my wife was an accountant. I think she was an accounting manager, and we looked at each other and said, who can make more money? So I found out that she could make more money, so I stayed home and played Barbies with my girls. So I did. It's where I got all my ideas about using computers, is watching kids play with computers. So I am your computer Piagetian educator. When a client approaches you to discuss the possibility of a virtual world project, what kind of assessment do you perform to determine whether this is the right medium? Well, like I said in the beginning, if somebody approaches me, I ask them to meet me in a virtual world. We're kind of bullish that way. If you want to meet me in a virtual world rather than make me come to your business, then you're probably ready for this kind of activity. If that makes you uncomfortable, that means that I probably don't have a leader. I've pulled a few people in anyway that way, where I went down, but when I went to go visit them, I took the virtual world with me, and I made sure that they created an avatar and that they got to experience some of the things, and then find out what they like so that you can take them to places in the virtual world that will relate to them. I learned this at Sun Microsystems in the early 80s when we showed one of the senior VPs that worked for Scott McNeely how he could actually get his stocks real time on a little website that we built for him. And boy, oh boy, did things change at Sun just because we showed this guy something that he could instantly relate to. And do that. Build something and show them something that they can relate to, that they could use. Anything else? I say, build, 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 build. I don't care if it's in Second Life or it's in OpenSim or if it's in 3D Explorer. It's just the more you build, the more viral virtual worlds are going to become, and I just don't think it's long before we see all of this appearing on our droids and our iPhones and our iPads, and that we are going to see glass surfaces appear in public, so we're going to be able to really want to likely simulate people in public places, in malls and things like that. When you can imagine the glass that's sitting on your iPhone right now is an interoperable surface on a department store window, and you can look inside and have your avatar try on clothes without even entering the store, that you're going to see a whole different way of thinking. And Jibe is testing on phones using Unity now. That's very true. One of the advantages that we have in our class is that we get the CEOs of many different companies to come in and describe to us what they're doing in their research labs. And Kyle Gomboy will actually be doing that in our class next week, is showing us how Jibe is testing on iPhones, or excuse me, droids. Good question, Decca, about SharePoint. I'm an old Microsoft guy, by the way. I was 10 years in Microsoft research running the Learning Science and Technology Group. Probably one of the first internals that used SharePoint. SharePoint's really cool for one reason. When you want somebody who can do something, and everybody has been, like we suggested here with Virtual Worlds, in residency in SharePoint, and their expertise and their competency has been embedded into the document load inside of SharePoint, boy, is it a useful thing. And being able to access people like LinkedIn does more than Facebook. Facebook to me is really super social, where LinkedIn is professional. And when you can start digging down in 5 reasons to know somebody in LinkedIn, I think that you'll see a better application of using things like SharePoint or large databases where they collect people like that does to access expertise. When I was a consultant in the very early 90s, I was probably one of the first Microsoft, maybe it was the late 80s, the first Microsoft consultants before they had Microsoft consultants. It was amazing to me that people that could program in Windows, which you really never heard of back then in 1988 or whatever it was. You've seen DOS and you heard of Microsoft, but nobody really saw Windows. But when people were capable like you are in virtual worlds right now at the very tip of this explosion, and you could program in Windows, you could command some very serious money and were constantly employed because you were using a technology that was emerging, that was surely transforming things. And the pioneers, the ones who really could build in here, both artistically and functionally, but also with good cybergogy, I'm going to borrow Lesley's word again, and know why you're building what you're building. I think that will persevere, and you'll find yourself, in a few years in the leadership positions in whatever you do in virtual worlds. What about Milton's comment that perhaps a problem hampering more widespread adoption of technology is that it's too difficult to use? Yeah, it is difficult to use. So was a mouse until they invented solitaire. I always love to remind people of that. It was not natural to use a mouse to interact with a computer. It was natural to work with a keyboard, but when Xerox PARC suggested that there was another device that could interact with a cursor, you all of a sudden saw this explosion of people getting it. What's the solitaire for the virtual worlds? That's my homework question for you all. What's the solitaire for virtual worlds? It's not hard. If you know how to use it now, which you all do, and you're using it effectively, then you know it's not hard. It was just a matter of learning. It's kind of like, I'm a language learner. I got my master's degree in applied linguistics at UCLA, and the reason immersion is important is because if you want to learn a foreign language, you'll just simply get on an airplane and fly to Spain, and then everything around you is Spanish. The food, the people, the signs, the radio, the television, just everything. Immersion is the solitaire for me. It's just getting people to come in here and stay in here that's the trick. A Spanish sim. Well, we kind of have a Spanish sim. It's just Mayan. What do you guys think the future of virtual worlds is? I mean, you guys meet every week and talk about this. What do you think is going on? You, Richard Hackathorn, that's great to see. I haven't seen you in a while. These are the mavens, the people who've been here forever. I don't want my question to stump you, but I think that what do you think? Do you think that virtual worlds are peaking? Do you think they're at a lull? Do you think they're trending out? Well, what do you think? Take a look at this and type in virtual worlds. Go look at trends.google.com and type virtual worlds into there, and type in augmented reality. And if you've never seen that Google site, it's very educational. I wish I could get a nickel for every time I say Google. Here's another one of my predictions. I think there's going to be Google goggles pretty soon. You're going to be able to wear goggles, and you're going to be able to see the internet wherever you are. And I don't have any inside information. It just seems inevitable to me. If I can put up my cell phone and get information on the internet about an object in front of me, and it knows where I'm at, why can't I just make that even more immersive? And instead of me looking at a 2D surface like a telephone, I would love to look through glasses, and my screen is the world, not the surface that I'm looking on, but looking through. Week you had a panel discussion. Most believe that virtual worlds are being overwhelmed by gamification. Well, now that's an interesting concept. I wouldn't say overwhelmed at all. I would say integrated. I would say virtual worlds are being integrated by gamification, and I find that if you don't have games integrated in, and you don't use gaming techniques in the development of your virtual world, you will probably have a pretty empty world. But if you can find a reason to play, Stelianos created a game on the Mayan island. It's a game that's in context, so it's something that the Mayans played. But when you get over there, you start getting addicted to it because you got to win. And then there's a prize at the end, just like in a game. And, that's what people are motivated by. While your car self-drives, the windshield becomes that screen. Well, that deck sounds great. It sounds a little dangerous, and I would like you to pull over while your windshield becomes the screen, because I have a feeling that you'll start concentrating on the screen, and the background will become a target for you. Yeah, self-driving cars is a solution to that, that's for sure.
Randy,
So
we're
let
coming
me.
up to the top of the hour, so just a couple more minutes for anybody who has any comments or any information to exchange with you, and then we'll be calling it a wrap for this week. But thank you so much for being so informative and inspiring, and fortunately I've got my hard copy of the book already, and I've been pouring through it, and it's really excellent. So I hope that you will enjoy it.
Well, thank you all very much for giving me the opportunity to come talk to you about the book and share some ideas both about 2B3D as a business, that's 2b3d.net, and the certificate in virtual worlds at the University of Washington. Anyone want to contact me in the future, just like I said, befriend me or send me a line, or I'm in Second Life almost all day, so just say hello and let's keep the dialogue going. Thank you, Emerson.
Okay, so if you keep an eye on our Facebook page, which I've just posted the address into the chat, and up-and-coming events will be posted there. Also, pictures
Pathfinder.
of today's meeting, hopefully. Okay.
Stelianos, is the stream being available? Do you have a URL for that for later? Okay, great. Well, again, thank you, Lesley, and thanks, Anders, as well, for inviting me, and look forward to hearing more when you buy the book, and come talk to me about it. That'll be fun. I'll stick around in case anyone wants to have any further conversations for a few minutes. But again, thank you very much.